Game number 1 in the winners match of Group B at the ZOTAC Cup season final. It's a Terran versus Zerg. Bottom right of the map we have Bly. And starting to the top left, his opponent, teammate of his, is MMA. So this game is going to determine the first player to advance to the round of 8 out of Group B. Then of course we're going to have another match as well. The losers match should already be being played by Jason and who was in the other group? Jason and Cold T. And the victor of this match is going to go up against the loser of this particular game that we have on screen right now. And this is going to be the last best of 3s for the day. Tomorrow we will have Group C and D, and the day after then the round of 8. So Terran versus Zerg with MMA going up against Bly. It should be an interesting match. Bly himself being one of those players that has very interesting builds and is always on the hunt for another build that can surprise an opponent and blindside him. Whereas MMA is, of course, just an absolute machine. Like, this guy is just so darn good. In the games early, we could already observe that, and especially against Zerg, one of the things that he does is just drop everywhere, and having such a great multitasking and drop performance that it's very difficult to keep up with him. The hatch first for Bly, whereas MMA starts things off with the gas to get his Reaper into the match. And for now, we have the Overlords just getting in position, and after the lag problems that we had, or those Twitch problems that we had just a few seconds ago, let's try what exactly, or let's see what exactly is going to happen in this game right now. The players had a bit of time to relax, had a bit of time to think about the game at hand now, and are now well rested and eager to go. So Reaper on the way. We have so far no gas taken. If he doesn't take that extractor pretty soon, we're probably going to see a double gas. There it is. Okay, so he's not going to go for that 5-30 minute double extractor. And now with the gas and more of a queen focus at the early game. No, we're going to see indeed the speed upgrade, getting that out for the Zerglings so that they can keep up with the Reaper. On creep it's not going to be an issue for them anyways, but yeah. So already with the space here for the add-on, and we see the Overlord moving in. He sees that too, has also a vision of the SCV on the low ground with the expansion that has been dropped there. King Station Station in general is a map where Zerg players can especially utilize their Mutalisks against an opponent. It's great in the matchup against Protoss, but also against Terran. It's a pretty decent map for Zerg. And MMA, of course, is a very different beast to handle here. And for Bly, I would really say that Bly, being the underdog in this game, will have to throw a bit of a curveball to MMA if he wants to be successful here. The Reaper is not really getting anything in there. Even the Zerglings are just running away, and now with the rest of the links, 6 links actually in total. It's quite a lot. Sometimes you just try to sneak those links past the first Reaper and attack the SCV that is building the command center on the low ground. We don't really see that here. But yeah, the Reaper shouldn't have too much trouble. It kills one of the Zerglings off and is trying to aim for a second one, but with a Queen out there, very unlikely to happen. So Reaper is still alive, the SCV completely unmolested. And down to the bottom right, we have now speed also started for the Zerglings. That at the latest is going to put an end to the Reaper's aggression or scouting information. For the entire build, like, I mean, the Queens are now just at ramp waiting for that Reaper to try and jump in again. Don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. We have no additional Queens being built, so if he doesn't move his units back in the main base, he's going to miss out on injects. And with the early Roach run that we see there, it's of course highly unlikely that he wants to do that, because we are going to see Roach aggression. So for Bly, it's going to be the Roach aggression, with the Roach run already being built at 520 in the game. We have in the main base of MMA, on the other hand, an attempt to go into Starport, and so far I don't see a second gas taken. I also don't see any kind of tackler being built nearby, so if that's going to be bad, it's going to be late. It's rather you're probably going to be rather a drop play that we're going to see here by him. And there's the medevac already. Doesn't really have a whole lot to defend against Roaches. There's also the tech super fast into Lair. That's a pretty interesting move that we see there. We had a few players that were trying to work with Nidus networks and similar moves. Could also just be for the speed here if he really wants to go for such a fast one. And he cancelled it. That makes a lot more sense. Apparently, was the Reaper maybe in the base and was scouting things? That's one of the yeah, okay, the Reaper was in the base, was scouting the Lair, so he thinks it's the Lair attack, and that's why he cancelled later. That didn't make any sense with what we saw so far. So let's see let's see what exactly is going to happen with the Roach push that comes up at the top, because we don't see anything against that. We have already the Hellions moving into position to intercept those Zerglings, but the problem for him still being that Roach one and the Roaches that he's building will be able to just break through the wall, and then the Lynx can of course hunt everything else down here. it's getting a little bit tricky. I mean, a counter aggression with the medevac could do quite some work, but I don't think that MMA has any notion of what's going on here. Yep, there we go. He already has the Zerglings on the way and the Roaches as well. Maulings moving in too. A complete all-in by Bly here, and MMA is just moving back with his entire army, but that wall has been breached. And now it's time for Hellions and Zerglings to just stream in. The Roaches, well, they... Okay, so the block even doesn't work. The SCVs are being melted down here. And it looks like MMA is gonna lose that first game against Bly. Easy peasy. At least for now, there's no third orbital that can really help him out. Oh, that bunker at the back could at least save him for now. It's 23 against 46 Harvesters though. So a lot of damage done. Resources lost 1,600 against 1,200. Bly can now just simply drone up, and he does. Gets the lair in as well. And that is pretty tricky for MMA. And MMA is far behind in this game right now. It's super fast. Let's see how exactly he's gonna do with that. We have the Roaches still working at the front, trying to snipe one of the supply depots. Third base is now being built as well. We get an update from the admin that Jason is apparently 1-0 against Coolty, aka Chayok. We currently, well, we casted him earlier against MMA. As one supply depot is down, even gets the, even gets like one of the, or two of the Marines. So he gets another SCV. Very well done by Bly here. A lot of damage done. I mean, he killed 18 Harvesters here. He killed a few Hellions and also, of course, the Marines themselves. Now it's time for the Hellions to try and sneak by and do some damage down here. But we should still have a few Queens around there. 2 Queens are still in the game. Getting 10 more Harvesters. Wow, he's at 50, going to 60. So once again, going to double the Harvester count of his opponent there. Easy peasy. So, yeah. What Bly really did well was just hide everything that was happening. Not only the structures, but also the units. He did really well with this. We have Sacre Bleu Le Baguette Emile making fun of the French streamers here. Apparently, Jason is French, and Mori is chipping in his own thought as well. So let's try and find out how exactly this is gonna work out from MMA from here on out. The problem for him is really that he started things off with a drop attempt. If he would have had that command center here first, or like very early in the game, then he could have really compensated for the Harvesters that he lost. We have him with a Widowmine in the base with 3 kills here, trying to check that out. And also a few more Hellions running in towards that third base. He gets even more kills there. So that's not too bad. I mean, the Harvester kills by him, he at least took 8 down. So Bly is starting... I don't really want to say that he's falling behind here. I mean, he still has his lair takedown and everything, but he's still in the position where he needs to be careful, because MMA is certainly making a very good comeback attempt after he fell behind so far early on. The upgrades are still on the tab for him, 1-1 as well for him as for Bly. We have MMA also now with the orbital command that he can use then for the additional SCVs and for the mule that he's going to put in there. And, well, at this point, Bly still far ahead, but MMA at least starting to make his comeback here. Maybe he can even pull that off. He just lost so much at the beginning that it's going to be super difficult for him to do that, considering that he lost 20 Harvesters. He was down to 23 against 46, and even at this point we have 66 Harvesters against 46. Significant lead for Bly. Mules kind of make up for that to some degree, but the tech for Bly is of course another issue that MMA will have to deal with. One of the things that you do not see though is like any kind of high attack. We do not see anything that lair was really used for, except for the speed upgrade for the Banelings and also for the Roaches. The Roach speed is already done, as you can see here. That Zergling just barely not blocking the command center from going down. 4th base now for Bly, and Bly really accepting that this is going to be a longer game, not even trying to put the Spire in there just yet. So with that 3rd base that we see for MMA, he definitely has the potential to bounce back into this game, no doubt about that. Still behind, but with the drop play that he has and the lack of Mutalisks for Bly, so he can't really do anything against the Medivacs themselves, we still have a bit of pressure, and that occupies Bly now, whereas MMA is just starting to really macro it up back at home. The 2-2 upgrades for Bly follow instantly though, and that will still give him quite a lot of pressure potential against MMA, who just now finishes his 1-1, is waiting for the armory to be completed so that he can start the next set of upgrades, which he will probably do immediately. 4th base for Bly is nearly done, whereas MMA is now saturating his own 3rd. So it's time for the 3-3 upgrades to start here. MMA not doing it just yet. 2-2 already far ahead for Bly, and that will give him a big lead in the next few fights, especially since the Zerg player has already the better army supply with 83 against 61 and started to move out here. MMA just simply doesn't have the resources to start the next set of upgrades. He's really far behind in that. Army supply 92 against 61 right now, and the composition is also pretty decent for Bly here. A lot of roaches, the Zerglings as well, the Banelings to follow things up with the speed upgrade completed, so he can use that. It's mainly Marines that he has to deal with, and a few Widow Mines. We see they're spread out. Maybe if he gets the perfect hits with those, it's going to be different. But that Spire follow-up already, I mean, Bly is just pulling all the strings now, trying to make sure that MMA does not have a chance of moving back into this game. And it doesn't really look likely that he's going to succeed with it anyways. Those Widow Mine hits were not good at all. Like, they were not the hits that he was hoping for. Banelings just crushing through the wall here. And this time, Bly is going straight for the Harvesters, taking down the... Oh my god! Taking down the SCVs. A massive hit against the SCVs everywhere. And I don't think that Bly is gonna lose this game. I don't think that there's a chance that he will throw this away. I mean, MMA in terms of army supply is on the same amount. Worker supply is far behind. He might be able to stop this push though, but Bly doesn't even try to follow it up. He's just trying to trade as cost efficiently as he can, not even trying to finish the game. He's just waiting for his Spire to finish and then throw MMA a curveball with a massive amount of Mutalisks moving in. And if he takes down, for example, the missile turret here, he doesn't even have to, be honest. Like, this is nearly 20 Mutalisks that he can build if he wants to. So there's another force moving in towards that third base. With a bunker in position, if he actually repairs, well, he's too late on that. So doesn't really get too much done with it. Kills the Marines off, tries to before they move into the bunker, but gets at least a couple of SCVs here. So in total, 54 Harvesters killed against 9, and now that the Spire is done, we have 18 Mutalisks building, and that should put the final nail in the coffin of MMA. Those Mutalisks should be able to just clean things up, or at least pin MMA down so that he can't move out at all. I mean, at this point, it's just like MMA desperately trying to get back, and the supply might look the same. I mean, you might look at this and say, like, okay, it's not a big difference, but it's just the tech, with the Infestation bit already coming up, the 2-2 already being done, the Terran player not being on the same set of upgrades. He doesn't have any means of getting Thors in there. Bly is just playing this very, very smart. Not all inning, but just like throwing one tech choice after another at his opponent, and with all the Harvesters lost, the income for MMA is just not on a level where he can make a lot of great moves. And he's currently trying to go cross-map, but Bly is now taking the reinforcements apart with the Mutalisks as well, even sacrificing a few of those. Back at home he builds 15 Banelings, and that's just enough. MMA is just in such a bad spot. Bly will have to make a massive mistake to actually lose this here. But the Mutalisks are moving back. I would have actually thought that he would try to go into the main base and do some damage there. Nice split by MMA. I mean, MMA is doing it as well as he can, but he's still behind an entire set of upgrades, and the Mutalisks are now moving in as well. Nice hit with the Baneling here at the beginning. But the Mutalisks need to be careful. They need some ground support. And with the extra... MMA is moving in. Okay, here we go. Here come the Zerglings and the Banelings cleaning this up. MMA still on 3 bases against 4. Bly with 124 supply has the extra... Yeah, it has actually the added upgrades here. The Harvester count still in his favor. Bly is now the one who can once again put in the aggression. The one thing that he really needs to do though is to saturate that 4th base. Like, that's pretty important right now. Looking at the base and the Harvesters that he has, a few more Harvesters would really help him a lot. 16 Mutalisks still on the map. And I have to give it to MMA. I mean, considering the bad position that he was in the entire game, he's doing pretty well. He's still in the game, and he's trying to just survive long enough so that he gets his own upgrades in. He has his +2/+2 done by now too, and we have the lair tech nearly in hive. But if MMA holds that a little bit longer and gets that 3 in, he might be able to just bounce back. Problematic is that he's running out of mineral patches in the main base, and that puts him on 2 mining bases, with this one also starting to run out. That's one of the problems that you have with a mule, to just mine out those structures a bit faster. Bly also not with an Overseer with his composition, which I find a bit strange, but he gets the speed upgrade for the Overlords and Overseers now, so that should hit pretty soon. For Bly, he doesn't really have the resource here that he wants to have. It's 13,000 lost against 12,000. Bly is starting to lose a bit of ground here, and he needs to make sure that he doesn't make too many big mistakes at this point. If he keeps MMA low, he's still like massively ahead, like thanks to the overall supply, but the upgrades, he's falling behind with that. He does have the lair tech, the hive tech now, and should start Adrenal Glands and also the 3-3. He gets 6 more Mutalisks in, and he also has the +1 attack upgrade with a +2 on the way. Here comes the +3 attack and armor. Ult Ultralisk Cavern as well. But it's still really impressive how resilient MMA is in this series, considering how much he lost at the beginning. I mean, just look at the units lost here. 62 SCVs lost. If you lose 62 SCVs over the duration of the game, that's pretty telling. But 9 Mutalisks already eliminated, and that just shows that Bly maybe throws those away a bit too fast. Nice upgrades here for Bly by now, but he lacks on the, there is there, right, like Adrenaline Glance upgrade, alright. I would even like Bly to get another base, to be honest. I mean, he has 2,000 mineral income by now per minute. He has the Mutalisks still roaming the map. MMA is going for the Thor as well, and he's starting to really build up a good army composition. He's really up to build up good army composition and gets that. I can tell you one thing, if MMA would have actually started with a triple CC instead of like the fast take into the drop, he would probably be like massively ahead right now, but he's still 50 supply behind. The creep spread is also something that he can't contest too well. Like, he's doing it with a few forces on the map now, but in comparison to what he would usually be able to do, this is still tricky. And another weak point in the defense. MMA has to be careful that he doesn't lose the command center. The Marines are moving in, and they definitely help out. Ultralisks are now part of the composition too. Chitinous plating is on the way as well. We have the Mutalisks still trying to snipe a few structures here, and can take down even additional SCVs. SCV count is 43 against 76. 4 bases, fully saturated for Bly now, and Bly is starting to build up a massive bank with this. And MMA runs out of mineral patches, as already said, already talked about, in the main base and at the natural. That's the problem when you rely on mules this heavily to make up for the income. He's running out of resources, and he will have to establish a 4th base, and Bly is getting the 5th, and it's just now making sure that MMA can't really do that. So at this point it's also becoming a part, like a matter of macro. And with 30 larvae available, Bly can just rebuild immediately if need arises. He's on 200 supply already. He has still 2,000 resources on minerals and 1,200 on gas. Gets his entire tech up, with a hive tech also now layer done, so he can transition from an Ultralisk composition into Broodlords if he wants to in just an instant. Has still the Mutalisks there to pin MMA down. Oh, but this is gonna potentially hurt, and wow. Just moves back a second before those Widow Mines hit. That was nice. I mean, that was a really nice attempt by MMA. It didn't really work out for him. But yeah, that was tricky. If those Mutalisks all go down, like, that's gonna be trouble. So for now, we have creep even spread further across the map. MMA is nearing 200 supply, doesn't have a big bank, but if he can establish himself this 4th base, look at the amount of Widow Mines that we see for him. In total, he has 17 Widow Mines across the map. Is Bly really going to move into this? He's thinking about it. He's trying to trigger the shots of the Widow Mines, and he's not really doing it too well right now. Only like 1 or 2 in cooldown. He killed 1, but that's about it. And Bly looks like he's just trying to throw a beeline and go straight for that base up to the top, to that 3rd. Should be able to pull that off. Yeah, easy snipe, of course, on the missile turret, no doubt. We have 1 drop down here at the bottom of MMA, and that's exactly what he needs to do. Some kind of drop play to put Bly in his place, but he can't. Yeah, not with the Banelings there. Be too tricky for him. Now we have even Corruptors building for Bly. He's really starting to play this just slow and safe. 4,000 minerals and 2,000 gas still, and MMA is running out of resources, as mentioned earlier. But Bly is not trading just yet. He wants to go for the Broodlords apparently to support this army too. We have the Thors now in, and Bly just doesn't really know how to engage this army with all those Widow Mines around, and also with the high ground now in position of MMA. The Thors are doing a decent job here. That 4th base is super important. With that 4th and all those additional mules now, suddenly we have MMA with a decent income. If he can rack up that army, it would be great. But we have the army moving in of the Zerg player all the way to the top, trying to take this base, trying to force a fight right now. Takes down the command center without a problem, and MMA kinda has to just let this one go. Once again, the Thors are suddenly being completely exposed. The first one down, the second one falls as well. Bly moves in. His army is maxed out in upgrades now. He can easy peasy just remax if he wants to with a completely different position. And that's what he's currently doing. MMA lost a lot of resources, or a lot of income with this one. Resources lost overall is very, very similar. The Terran player is still a bit behind, but Bly is once again roughly 30 supply ahead of his opponent with still 4,000 minerals and 1,400 gas. But MMA is dragging this out a lot. If Bly makes one mistake, MMA can bounce back. He's still behind, still trying to keep up. and trying to catch up for most of all. But with one mistake, Bly could lose the advantage that he currently has, and MMA might be able to just bounce back into this game and gain some momentum. For now, it's the Zerg player, though, that is really calling the shots here. Taking down another orbital command and just moving back into the main base. Terran player attempting to kill one that Bly is building to the right side and is successful with that. In the main, we even have now Contaminate being used against the structures to make sure that reinforcements are not streaming out by MMA. That gives Bly a little bit more time to dish out the damage. While back at home, he's not only getting the +3 attack upgrade, but also another composition with the Ultralisks now being emphasized. Brood Lords are in the game as well. That drop against the base, great, but the Fungal is there, hitting home. Does he get another off against it? Yes, he gets the second Fungal, and the Queen is already doing the damage against the Medivacs. In the end, they escape, but still resources lost in favor of the Terran player for now. But the problem, of course, that we have the additional income for Bly with the base right over here, the one base over there, and that's something that he can just simply use to make up for that small difference in resources lost. Overall, Harvester killed, also interesting, 101 by now. 101 SCVs that we see there. We have Bly still not able to take down MMA just yet, but it's the Terran player who's supply blocked at 161, needs the supply depots, needs those structures, and now with a completely changed composition for the Zerg player with Infestors, with Ultralisks, and also Broodlords, Bly is making another attempt to take down the space in the middle of the map, and if he gets this one, then it would be completely lights out, since the income just isn't there for MMA any longer. It's a very tricky position for MMA to be in. He's done an incredible job staying in the game. Very, very resilient here. But Bly is pushing in once more. And he still has the bank to just reinforce his army or just rebuild it in an instant if need be. Should maybe try to take the space over here again now that he controls the middle of the map with his army. Could easily do that. At some point, even if he doesn't kill this position, Bly would, MMA would be mined out here too. The Viking count for MMA currently looking at roughly 8. Is that 7, 8 Vikings? Yes, 8 Vikings that he can use to keep those Broodlords at bay, as long as the Infestors don't go in close enough for another quick Fungal. But the rest of the army... Oh, Widowmine's moving in here. And he gets the Fungal against the Widow Mines. That, of course, also makes them visible. Gives the Broodlord a shot to just move in. And there we go. First Widow Mines are taken out. The rest of the army moving in. The Fungal! The Money Fungal and the Banelings hitting home. MMA down to a 90 supply. The GG called, and Bly takes game number 1 in the best of 3 series against his team. Alright boys, we have our second match in the Zerg versus Terran here at the winners match in Group B at the ZOTAC Cup season final. Starting to the bottom left, we have Bly with a 1-0 lead against his teammate MMA, starting on Nimbus to the top right. In game number 1, Bly with an early attack gave himself like a massive lead against MMA, who started with a command center into tech instead of triple CC. So MMA doing a quite decent job staying in the game for a long time, but in the end it was Bly that was successful after all. The advantage for the Zerg player just way too big, and let's see how exactly MMA is going to react to it in this time. Bly with a Roach build in game number 1. Nimbus is a very different map, very much like a lot bigger than map number 1, which we saw there, which was King Station. Now we are on game number 2 on Nimbus with cross position as well. So, this is now one of the games where we're going to find out how exactly Bly is going to play it here, if he's trying to rely on the Roaches once more. We could even see something like Fancy Nidus Network. Players like Pig, TLO and others have successfully been trying to get their Nidus Network plays up again. And it worked especially also at the ATC, where TLO took down Innovation, if you watched the ATC finals that we just had recently in Germany. At this point, we're having MMA to the top right in a position where one more match that he loses will bring him straight into the consolation match. The winner of this best of 3 is already advancing to the round of 8 that is going to be played in 2 days. So up to the top right, we currently have MMA with gas taken. Down to the bottom left, we have the spawning pool just now for Bly. So we will once again see the Reaper trying to get the scouting information here after the initial SCV with a quick scout to the top left is eliminating this position here as the scouting position for Bly. Interestingly enough, Bly is now taking the base up here on the top, on the high ground, instead of taking the one that we have down here. We have a bit of different approaches from the Zerg players that we've observed so far today. Dimaga earlier has taken against Happy this base base down in the bottom first, which gives him more or less a free expansion up here at the top. But for Bly, it's a bit different. It's a bit easier to defend this one up there, but then you might struggle later on because you can't just spread the creep as fast towards that gap as you could otherwise and then block with queen. So that's the disadvantage that you run into with it. The scout to the top left didn't see anything. The second scout with the Reaper to the bottom right is also not going to find a base for the Zerg player just there. The SCV will be a bit more lucky with this, is already moving down to the bottom left. And of course, fast, the question is now rather, what is Bly going to do in this game? I feel that he's more likely going to be the one that tries to come up with a fancy build to take MMA down than MMA himself trying to throw something fancy in, just because MMA with a normal game has a big advantage in my opinion. His micro, macro and multitasking just is absolutely stellar and out of this world. So with this, you should be able to win a long drawn out match against Bly if they start on even footing and not like in the last game with such an advantage for the Zerg player. So Bly will try to just tip the scales in his favor by doing something fancy or getting some kind of win against his opponent, and that win in terms of like getting like a surprise element or just some kind of like harass against the mineral line, like maybe taking an army down, maybe relying on something like an IDOS network or a tech that MMA doesn't expect, to just give himself a bit of an advantage. We have at 520 now the double gas taken. No early gas this time for Bly. The Overlord also is just now seeing that the Reaper is still there, so no drone being sent down to take that third base just yet. That Reaper will have to be repelled first before he can do that. To the top right, what we have is Zerglings just getting some scouting information up, or just thinking about like moving up that ramp. The Marines even moving down. It looks like he is really thinking about applying some pressure, especially to a potential third base. And Bly did not realize that those Marines were walking past him. He was occupied with the Reaper jumping in his main base and then into the base up there. Reaper is not gonna survive that for long, but at least he's scouting everything that's happening here, especially of course the gas. Middle of the map already with the Marines, still moving down to the bottom. We have also the medevac again started for MMA, and Bly so far doesn't really do anything out of the ordinary. We have the first Overlord already being attacked, and that goes down. Bly is not going to be heavily supplyable by this, but at least for he's going to lose those 100 minerals that you don't want to lose. Hellions are moving in now as well, and of course another thing that the Overlord is really trying to do is get scouting information in there. We don't have any kind of scouting information at the top of the natural. That's one thing that he's going to try to abuse now with the medevac just moving in and dropping in there. But we have the Roach one on the other hand, and that's not only something that is going to reveal immediately, but he's also going, if it's being delayed for a long time, he's going to be able to just get the Roaches in the game as well. So, medevac is already there, picking up the Hellions. The Marines have moved back, didn't take down anything yet, but the rest of their move is coming in here. And that's where we're going to see that drop moving in with the Spore Crawler a bit too late. Another Overlord taken out up there to the top in the main base. It's Overlord number 2 that dies. The Zerglings are also taken out, and he's going, he's trying to kill a few Harvesters, only killing one. And now the Spore Crawler is ready too. Ooh, needs to be careful, and gets away with the medevac for now. Alright. So, has that now done too. The third base is there. And with the third base nearly done, and the lair tech also completed in the main base, Bly has now quite a few options. First of all, Spire tech is of course once again very, very likely for MMA. We don't have a third base just yet. And, well, let's see. We have Bly with the speed upgrade for the Roaches, double evolution chamber now for him, no Spire just yet, and still the Hellions in the base. The problem with the Roaches is, like, if you rely on Roaches too long, they don't really scale well into the late game unless you go for Roach Hydra and supplement that with a few Vipers. So usually we see still the transition into the Spire, but he goes for the 1-1 upgrades here already. We might actually see him go for different style here and eventually at this Hydra then if he really wants to go for it. A 1-1 timing with the speed on the 3 bases is also something that he could go for. With MMA, it's going to be a bit tricky for Bly to actually make that work. I mean, MMA so far is only relying on the buy units. It's a single engineering bait that does it for him, so not the double upgrades. The third base just now being built. It's more of a question if MMA can really bring his drop play to come into play here. We have like 2 medevacs already heading over to the right side. There's a few Zerglings in position, but only one Spore Crawler. Could easily just drop in here and then with a stim upgrade hit that. He has stim done. Combat shield is not done yet, but that's not a lot of Zerglings that we see there. And the rest of the army is still down here, but he saw it. Okay, he saw it and moves in. Zerglings are being taken out, but I doubt that he will be able to do too much damage with the... Well, actually, if they line up like this, he will be able to take down a few of the roaches, and he takes down already 3 of them. That's exactly the problem. Between the mineral patches, if the units just line up, you can take them one at a time, and that's what he did there, trying to maybe even eliminate another Overlord, and it's going to be close. Yes, he gets it. Gets another Overlord, takes that out. Bly still getting a lot of roaches, and there's the Hydra then that I've been talking about earlier. For MMA, it's going to be important that he identifies what's going on here, that he doesn't really think it's going to be just a transition into Liquid or Baneling later on again. Because he will need a lot more Marauders than that, and also ideally a few siege tanks in the back line to make sure that Bly is not getting too much done with that. He's at 53 harvesters against 49. It's still 2 bases against 3. 2 mining bases against 3, I should say, since the 3rd orbital is already there. But Bly is also starting to get his infestation pit up, and that's exactly for what I mentioned earlier, the Vipers that you need for this. You want to have the Vipers to just make sure that you get the Blinding Clouds in and the Yanks, and we have at the same time MMA currently. Well, MMA is really starting to fall behind in upgrades as well. The range upgrade for the Hydra is a +2/+2 on the board. MMA himself is on +1 attack, doesn't even have an armor upgrade, and we have a 4th base already for Bly. Bly's position is actually not too bad. Like, as long as he hits a good timing with his Hydras and the Roaches on 2-2, I think he can do a lot of damage here. Like, a ton of damage, actually. Because there is not really a whole lot that we see for MMA right now. I mean, in terms of units, he's heavily relying on Bio. And Bio units alone, as long as you don't have really nice upgrades and support with Medivacs and whatnot, are not doing too well against Roach Hydra. At least not if they have like this kind of upgrades with the 2-2 about to hit, even before MMA has his... Does he have his 1-1 done by now? No, he doesn't. He didn't even start the armor upgrade. Like, I'm a bit worried for MMA here, to be absolutely honest with you. Bly is preparing for a massive push out, and if he times this well, he should be able to do a lot of damage with it. And I mean a lot of damage. That army that now moves cross map is currently at 81 supply, but if Bly just gets his resources into units, he should be able to do a lot here. If he can wait out for that 2-2, that would be especially good. But he can't throw his units away. There is still a lot of DPS for MMA, like, don't get me wrong, but those upgrades are currently already better for Bly, and if he can just wait for the 2-2, that would be crazy good for him. And he's also just now waiting for the rest of his Roaches and Hydras. Doing the damage here already, but is that enough? The Marines with the stim doing a lot here, and MMA hitting apparently the perfect timing to put Bly into his place. The 2-2 just isn't done, and he does not have the rest of his units in there either. He just droned up as well. MMA might have the exact answer to what's going on here. Snipes the Hydra then, or can snipe it, and takes down the Roaches, and with the Roaches the buffer is done, and the Hydras, they go down. The 2-2 is not done just yet. MMA with a beautiful timing against his opponent has to move back in the end. Resources lost heavily in favor of MMA now, and with the Hydra then also done and, well, taking out, MMA is now not worried too much anymore about the Hydra. This is the Roaches that stream cross map. The 2-2 is now about to hit. That will put him up 3 upgrades. He's 3 upgrades ahead, Bly that is, and he's starting to use that for the counter damage that he's trying to put in there. Down there we still have the bases completely mining. There are not too many harvesters that he was able to kill. 17 doesn't matter too much, and Bly realizing that he can't just simply move into that Terran army, especially with the Widow Mines that have now been established. So we see Bly in a position where he has to move back. Not too happy about this. He was looking forward to a pretty sick timing on 2-2 upgrades, and then MMA moves in at the perfect time, pushes him back, takes down the Hydra den, and buys himself a lot of time. Not only to take his own 2-2 or his own upgrades, but also to get another base up and to start really dropping his opponent. For Bly, it's base number 4 now. Base number 4 that comes into play for him. A triple drop towards the left side of the map. And that's of course a big issue that you have when you are going for a Roach Hydra composition. You don't have the Mutalisks to deal with drop play. You just can't interrupt them. You can't take those Medivacs out the entire time. And if then a big drop like this is hitting one of your bases, that's so much DPS that it's not easy to defend that, especially if you don't even have the Hydra list to push that back. Another snipe on an important structure, and this time the Roach Warren is the one that dies. Takes down the Roach Warren and just simply moves back 1 Medivac, that's what he gets here. That's actually more than I thought he would get, but the Hydras were already a bit too close. The thing is that another set of units is already moving towards the right side, where we have this additional base that was just now scouted by MMA. So a great position for him to take this one out too. We have units just everywhere. Jason, by the way, with a 2-1 against Cool T. So we're going to see the Protoss player from France, I believe, going up against the loser of this series. MMA now starting to move in with two sides again. To the left side, we see him taking down the economy, but the nice fungals here that we have here against the Medivacs, pinning this army down, forcing him to fight, and now suddenly MMA is losing a lot of ground. Bly is losing a lot of his units, and also Harvesters towards the left side though, and finally the Roaches as the reinforcement starting to push this back a little bit, especially since we have the Hydras now on the low ground, but still a lot of damage done here by MMA. MMA is in resources lost, still in a better position. 13,000 against 8,000 that we see there. The base over here also taken out, so definitely an attack worth it for the Terran player, trying to establish himself another base. We have the 2-2 done for Bly, and as you can see, Bly is not on hive tech. Bly has the infestation pit, but he's not on hive tech, so it's only infestors that he can use to just pin the army down with a quick fungal, but not the hive tech for the Vipers and the blinding cloud, as well as the Yanks if need be. So this army for Bly has to be successful now, because if not, he's going to be up against +3 attack of his opponent, and he has a pretty decent concave. No, it doesn't get the fungal in just yet. Here comes the fungal as the Terran army moves in, and this time he might be able to just eliminate everything here. MMA is at 150 supply, and Bly is pushing his way in, but with all those additional medivacs to heal up the army, it's tricky for Bly to move in and take everything down. He gets these units, but the reinforcements should be ready. Only a few of them. He needs to move back and just like get all the units together once again, but with the Hydra list not having a buffer, it's just not gonna happen, at least not at this point. The Roachborn is of course by now back. He's building the Roaches again. The 4th base is up for MMA though. That puts him 1 base ahead of his opponent. Bly needs to win it now or he is gonna lose the game. He doesn't have the hive tech. He's only on 2-2 against the +3 attack that is soon about to hit, and the additional upgrade on armor that has been started. He's down in bases. The planetary up there is giving MMA the better income now. He's also down in economy. He had a pretty nice window, a pretty nice attack mapped out earlier, but MMA just put a stop to that with a nice counter aggression, and very well played so far by the Terran player, who needs to win 2 games in a row though. Like, don't forget about that. It's a 1-0 for Bly. We have another base also being put down now by MMA, which just says like, yeah, 4 bases are not enough. I'm a greedy bastard right there. I want to have the money. I'm the Dagobah Duck of StarCraft 2, and I need more minerals. Minerals, 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 and that's what he's going for. The attempt to rebuild the hatch, the 4th base for Bly. MMA in a really nice position here with a lot of harvesters, great income, very nice army supply there, and lead in upgrades, and also a great build here if you just look at this army composition in general. Marine Marauder Medivac has been an amazing composition right from the get-go when we had StarCraft 2 going into beta. Not even a cancel that we have here on the base. Maybe a fungal against the Medivacs? No. In the last second, hits the afterburners and just moves away. Even with another stim, could wait on the high ground, and he does. Chases down a few units of the army. Bly is on the run. MMA nearly maxed out, building up a nice bank here. And the rest of the army is moving in. He doesn't have his entire army here on the other hand, so he's just starting to trade. And needs to be careful that he's not overwhelmed. The Hydras have a sick DPS, and if you get the fungals off against the Medivacs, they could clean that out as well. But as you can see, as the reinforcements stream in, Bly's position is getting from bad to worse. MMA with 150 supply, 1 infestor after another going down, and MMA is starting to clean house here. He's going to take down this hatch again, and at this point we have a 70 supply lead for the Terran player. Bly GG's and taps out. It's a 1-1, and we are going into game number 3 in the series here between Bly and MMA. Alright, game number 3, the final game between Bly and MMA on merry-go-round. To the top left of the map we have Bly, our Zerg player for Team Acer. And starting to the bottom, we have MMA. And this is, of course, right now one of those games where Bly has a map where he can utilize his roaches again for an early push if he wants to. It's also the map where TLO used his Nidus network play against Innovation successfully at the ASA Team Story Cup Finals. We also saw Pig play a style where he was trying to go for Overlord drop plus Nidus on this map with a roach push. Could be something that Bly is trying to emulate here. The winner is going into advancing to the round of 8 here at the ZOTAC Cup Season Finals. Loser is going to play another match against Jason in the consolation match, which is at the same time going to be the last best of 3 of the day. So right now we have MMA once more in a position where he can, with a quick win, go into the next round. The loser, as I mentioned, will have another shot in the consolation match. As you can see, there's the gas taken for MMA, and for Bly, anything else but a hatch first would be quite a surprise. But I still think that on this map there's a high chance that he's going into a roach push against MMA. MMA knows that, of course. Like, Bly is a player that really loves to go for roach aggression, and MMA knows that as well. It is one of those maps that is also very, very prone to a Zerg player using roaches, especially Bly. So MMA will definitely try to get the scouting information in and just making sure that he knows everything that's happening on the map there. Because if he misses it just for like one beat, he might lose the match because of it. The pushing distance is very, very short on the map, and Bly might try to exploit that. So for MMA, scouting is important. It's gonna be everything for him now. The barracks with the Reaper is also attributing to that, of course. Starting to the top left, what exactly do we have there for Bly? Gas taken this time early on for the early speed. Spawning pools, of course, also on the way, and with that we will at least be able to hunt down or shut down the Reaper, and that's one of the things that he did very well in the first game. Shut out the Reaper and make sure that MMA didn't get any scouting information. That MMA didn't really had a chance to see the roaches, see the Roachborn, and that really broke MMA's neck there. He just fell too far behind in the first game and could not really recover from this after the initial attack. So that's one of those things where MMA is going to try to make sure that the Reaper is going to stay alive and get that information, whereas Bly will have to try and control all the points where the Reaper can jump into the base, and the early speed is going to help him with that. So yeah, this is currently what's gonna go on between the two of them. Even if Bly doesn't go for the roach one, he will try to limit the scouting information to keep MMA guessing, because if MMA doesn't know what's going on, he always knows that there is the threat of it being a roach push, and that will definitely influence his own decision making in the game. The Reaper actually with the first kill, and nearly getting a kill against the drone of there too. I guess he killed only a Zergling. Yes, one Zergling being taken out by him. And let's see. We have to the bottom of the map the command center now nearly completed. Sometimes you see a Zerg player trying to sneak past a few units to attack that SCB. Not really happening there, especially with him, of course, feeling the need to keep the Reaper close. The Zerglings close to home to defend against the Reaper. Let's see. At the same time, we have the lair tech started very early, and that is now one of those things where we could indeed see a roach warren. On the other hand, it's also one of the things where you could say, like, yeah, he's just gonna go into a fast Spire. Personally, I'm not really a fan of a fast Spire player on 2 bases against Terran. I think that Terran players have very good tools to make sure that it doesn't do any damage. Then the only thing that you can do as a Zerg player is control the map and trying to establish yourself a 3rd base and just establish map control. But we have the Roach Warren now for Bly, so let's see how he's going to play this. He could also just use the Roach Warren as a defensive means against pushes with Hellions, but with, well, he takes 2 more gases, so it could be that Spire build, but we could also see the Nidus network. I'm mentioning that Nidus network several times just because it's a strategy that has been played in this map in particular in the last few weeks and months, countless of times. That Reaper getting into the main base is a problem though. Like, you wanna, that's exactly what we were talking about at the beginning of the game. You need to shut down that Reaper, and that Reaper saw everything. That Reaper saw absolutely everything. He saw the gases, he saw the Roachborn, he saw the tech into lair. and he isn't even dead yet. So finally being taken out. That queen finally putting an end to things, but Bly is not going to be too happy about this because he knows that MMA has full vision of what's going on. Speed upgrade and Roach Warren on the way. Harvester count for Bly at 39 to 31. Not building any harvesters here, just building up a bit of a Roach count. Quite often you see a Zerg player do this with a third base behind him so that you don't have to go full all in with it. How is Bly going to pull this off, and what is MMA going to do? He's already building 2 bunkers just to be on the safe side. The stim upgrade isn't done yet, but we have in the main base also the double engineering bay for the quick upgrades. So many roaches for Bly. He's going for that roach push that we expected. How does MMA handle it though? He doesn't have anything that really counters roaches completely, aka marauders, widow mines, siege tanks, nothing along those lines, just 2 bunkers, which is of course nice, but still you want to have a bit more than that. I don't understand why he's building like single marines in here and not marauders. Marauders are so much better against roaches, especially when you have the bunkers to protect them. I would have really thought him to just go for that, but he doesn't. So at this point we just have the 2 bunkers being the only thing that he has there. And well, that's a lot of roaches that we currently see for Bly. I mean, we're talking 60 army supply against 17. MMA, even though he scouted, is starting to worry me a bit here, because well, this is not looking too healthy for him. He's finally getting marauders. He has stim too, but the roaches are already moving in, sniping the first bunker, going straight for the second. What about the SCVs here? He's getting bunker number 2, does he? No, he actually just moves into the main base. He says like, yeah, keep your bunker. I don't give a shit about the bunker. Like, you can have your bunker and do with it whatever you want. I'm making sure that you don't get mining at the natural, and I'm going to move straight into your main base, just sniping your production structures here with the reactor. Moves down now as well, kills the SCVs there. Bly at 100 supply, MMA at 60. And the Terran player is starting to struggle not only a bit, but a lot. He's down to 29 harvesters. More roaches are already streaming in. The amount of army supply is 64 against 16. And MMA is currently getting manhandled here. I mean, Bly is just slapping him around like crazy. The first Marauder is gone. The second one is about to die. Like, if you just focus him once, and that's exactly what we're seeing there. The rest of the SCVs is also gone. He's down to 9 harvesters. He doesn't have a triple command center, but only relying on 2. And there's the GG as MMA gets roads busted by Bly. That was, in Germany would say, Spiel mit Ansage, and MMA just not reacting appropriately, apparently also not really thinking that Bly would go for this. Rolling the dice, not worth it for him, and GG as Bly advances to the round of 8 of the ZOTAC Cup season finals.